All right, so part one of this experiment, I've got my calorimeter. I've got my piece of glassware, a styrofoam cup, that's insulated, where I can have a reaction take place inside it, heat it up, and, well, I can touch the sides and I'm not gonna burn myself. The first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get approximately 2 grams of this sodium hydroxide. Here are the sodium hydroxide pellets. One thing that you have to be cautious of with sodium hydroxide is that these will absorb water from the atmosphere very, very quickly and very easily. So, all right. Okay, now I got a little bit more than 2 grams. I have 2.47 grams. The important part for me is I want to record that exact mass. So 2.47 grams. Another thing that you have to be very cautious of when you're using sodium hydroxide is you have to be very aware of where it ends up. You want it all to end up in the styrofoam cup, but in the event that some of it ends up on your bench top, you definitely want to wipe that up and rinse that area very thoroughly, because sodium hydroxide, well, if you put your hand on it, you will get a sodium hydroxide burn. So you have to be very careful, and it's always advised or recommended that you wear gloves whenever you're doing this procedure. Okay, so that's the first part of part one. The second part of part one is you're going to get a total of 50 milliliters of deionized water. I'm gonna step away and get my water, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my 50 milliliters of deionized water. I can go ahead and check the temperature of this. Not too surprisingly, my water is at about 20.5 degrees Celsius. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I want to be observing this in a closed system. So I'm going to get my thermometer. I'm gonna put it into my cup, my calorimeter, and then I am going to get the lid that I can work with at the moment, which happens to be parafilm, and I'm just going to hold it over the top. In the event that we get some lids, perfect, but if not, parafilm or a watch glass will work very well. So I'm gonna put this over my lid temporarily. I'm gonna make sure that my hand isn't blocking everything. Okay, so now I've removed my lid. I'm gonna put my 50 milliliters of deionized water in there. And I'm gonna watch as my temperature increases. And what I wanna do is make sure that my sodium hydroxide goes into solution. So I'll maybe stir this up a little bit. It's going up a little gradually, but it's definitely going up. It's at 23 degrees right now. Stir, 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 stir. .26 degrees right now. It's helpful to have either a lid that's clear or to work without a lid so that you can actually see the sodium hydroxide pellets and whether or not they've dissolved. And mine have not dissolved, so I'm gonna keep stirring. My temperature is up to about 29.5 degrees Celsius. So I'm definitely seeing the temperature of my water increase. Do I still have sodium hydroxide? I still have some pellets in there, but they're definitely considerably smaller than they were. My temperature has hit 30 degrees Celsius. I have a very, very small amount of sodium hydroxide left. Now I want to keep a lid on as best I can so that I can contain my system as best I can. And if you look closely, you can see it's about 30.5 degrees. And so I'm going to put my final temperature at 30.5 degrees. Stir, never mind. I'm just gonna keep watching until it begins to drop down again. It looks like it's hit 31.0 degrees. All of my sodium hydroxide is dissolved. It's going down 30.9 degrees. Okay, so I feel comfortable at this point in time saying that my reaction has come to a close, or my reaction has concluded, because my temperature went up and then it stopped right about 31.0 degrees, and now the temperature is going to very, very slowly, albeit, but it's going to gradually be declining. The reason that it's going to take a long time for the temperature to decline is because the heat capacity of water. Water has a very high heat capacity, and so it's going to take a lot of energy to bring the temperature down. All right, so that's the summary of part 1.